There comes a point, after the calls, after the funeral, after the paperwork and the shock, and the first awful weeks, when you realize something that knocks the air out of you. The person is no longer here. Not in the next room, not on the other end of the phone, not somewhere you can drive to or visit or text. What you have left are memories. At first, you might resist that sentence. It feels too small, too cruel. You think, no, I still have their clothes, their books, their handwriting, their chair, their watch, their things. And you do. But none of those get up and walk towards you. None of them say your name. Objects remain, dates remain, places remain, but the living them, their warmth, their voice, their moving presence, that part is gone. And your mind does what minds do when reality is unbearable. It rewinds. It goes back to the last birthday, the last normal day, the last Christmas you had together where you didn't know it was the last. It tries to replay conversations exactly, in reopened scenes, and walks through them frame by frame. Remember that evening we laughed so hard over something stupid? Remember the way they answered the phone? Remember the way they stood at the sink? Or leaned in the doorway? Or sat in their favorite spot? You start to live more and more in these internal replays. At Christmas, this becomes almost a second world. Other people are talking about plans, menus, presents, schedules. You are having two Christmases at once. The one happening outside you, and the one happening inside, a looping reel of all the Christmases when they were still here. The year they burnt the turkey and laughed about it. The year they were late and burst in red-faced from the cold. The year you argued and made up on the stairs. The year you gave them a gift that made their eyes shine in that way you only ever saw a few times. You cling to these memories because they are all you have that still feels like them. Psychology talks about episodic memory, your ability to replay events in your mind. It's meant to help you learn, to make sense of your life. After you lose someone, it becomes a lifeline and a torment. You go back again and again to certain scenes. Not because you enjoy the pain, but because you're trying to check something. Is it still there? Do I still remember their voice? Do I still remember how they walked? How they smiled? How they frowned? Do I still remember who we were together? Every time you can still see it, hear it, feel it, you get a small flash of relief. Every time details blur, you feel a jolt of panic. What did their handwriting really look like in the last card they wrote? Which side did their hair always fall to? Did they say Merry Christmas or Happy Christmas? What was the exact tone of their voice when they said your name? You start testing your own memory as if it's an exam you're afraid to fail. Because there is another frightening thought sitting underneath all of this. If memories are all I have left, what happens if I lose those too? You can't lose them again physically. They are already gone. But you can lose them internally if your mind lets go. That possibility terrifies you. So you repeat certain stories. You tell them to yourself. You tell them to other people. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes because they just spill out. You think you're just reminiscing, but part of you is also doing maintenance, keeping the memories alive by handling them. Christmas makes this both easier and harder. The rituals pull old memories to the surface without effort. The smell of certain food, the rustle of wrapping paper, the particular carol that always made them mock or smile, the feel of cold air on your face as you walk into a warm house. Your body remembers the pattern of Christmases with them. It feels strange, almost disorienting, to move through the same season without them physically in it. So your mind fills the gap with what it knows. Scenes from before. You stand in the kitchen and alongside what's happening now, you see them leaning on the counter in another year. You sit at the table and alongside the faces that are actually there, you see the face that should be there. It's like living in a double exposure, present day laid over ghosts. Some people will say, at least you have your memories. They mean well. They're not entirely wrong. Memories are something. They are not nothing, but memories are also not enough. They don't hug you back. They don't reply to your messages. They don't sit across from you in real time and say, "Tell me what's going on with you." They don't age, change, or grow with you. They are frozen while you keep moving. That hurts in a very particular way. Because as time goes on, you keep collecting new years, new Christmases, new stories, and they are not in any of them. The distance between now and when they were here widens. You might find yourself saying things like, "That was 2 years before they died," or "That was the Christmas after we lost them." You are pinning your whole timeline around their presence and absence. Memories become islands you swim back to when the sea of the present feels too rough. Remember that car ride, that holiday, that joke, that conversation. Remember that night you stayed up too late together. Remember them doing that ridiculous thing that still makes you smile in spite of yourself. Sometimes those memories feel warm, like being wrapped in a blanket that still smells like them. You sit inside them for a while and feel closer, less alone. Other times, they feel like knives. You replay something happy and then slam into the fact that you can never add to it again. You can only rewind it. The contrast between then and now is so stark, it makes you flinch. So you end up in a strange, painful dance with your own mind. Come here, memory. Go away, memory. Don't fade. Don't hurt so much. Stay sharp. Soften. You want both. You can't have both. There's another piece that makes it complicated, especially when memories are all you have left. They are not perfect recordings. They are edited, spliced, colored by emotion. You remember some things in vivid detail. Other things are missing or out of order, are changed by time. Someone else tells the same story differently and you think, "Wait, was I wrong? Did it happen like that or like this?" Then another fear arrives. What if I'm remembering them wrong? What if the version of them in my head is drifting away from who they really were? You might catch yourself smoothing their rough edges, or exaggerating them, or freezing them in one role they had in your life, parent, partner, child, sibling, and forgetting their complexities. Part of you wants to preserve them as perfect. Part of you wants to remember them whole, including the ways they annoyed you, hurt you, made mistakes. You don't want your grief to turn them into a saint you can't truly relate to anymore. But it's hard to hold a full, complicated human when all you have to work with are fragments. So you do what you can. You scroll through old messages, listening for their real phrasing. You look at photos, noticing small details. You listen to any voice notes or videos you have, even if they break you. You talk to people who also knew them, comparing versions. Sometimes you discover things you didn't know, stories from before you met, sides of them they showed to others. That can feel like a gift, like getting new angles of the same face. Other times, you feel jealous of other people's memories. They knew a side of them I didn't. They got years with them that I never had. They had a version of Christmas with them that I never experienced. You're not proud of feeling that. It's still human. When memories are all that's left, they become a kind of currency. Who has them? Who shares them? Whose stories are told? You might feel fiercely protective. This is my memory, my moment, my piece of them. You might feel a flash of anger when someone tells a story you think misrepresents them. Underneath all of this is a simple, aching truth. You are trying, in the only way you can now, to keep them from being erased. Because the world moves on quickly. New years roll in, new crises appear, new names trend, new shows, new songs. Other people's lives expand. The circle of people who actively remember this person shrinks as time goes on. You might look around at Christmas gatherings and realize the only ones talking about them are the ones who are closest. Others might not even know their name. That can feel like a second death. So you hold the memories even tighter. You say their name. You tell the story again, even if you've told it before. You put their decoration on the tree, their recipe on the table, their tradition into the day. Sometimes people get awkward. They don't know whether to join you in remembering or change the subject. You can see it in their eyes. Is it okay? Are we making it worse? But for you, not mentioning them would be worse. Because if memories are the only thing left, silence feels like an eraser. Still, there's a point where memory can trap you as much as it comforts you, when every present moment is judged against the past and found lacking. When every new experience is overshadowed by, but they're not here for this. When every Christmas is only a measurement of how long it's been since they were alive. You find yourself living in flashbacks instead of in the room you're physically in. If you notice that happening, it doesn't mean you're doing grief wrong. It might simply mean you're tired. Your mind is tired of holding a dead world and a living one together at the same time. You may need help sharing the load. Someone who can listen to the same story a 5th, 10th, 20th time without saying, "You've already told me." Someone who understands that repetition is not stubbornness. It's a way of saying, "This mattered. They mattered. Please help me keep them real." You may also need permission from yourself to let new memories form without their presence in them. This is delicate because it can feel like betrayal. If you laugh too hard, does it mean you've forgotten? If you enjoy a Christmas without sobbing through all of it, does it mean you're over them? If you find yourself absorbed in a moment without thinking of them for a while, does it mean they're fading from your heart? No. Your love for them is not stored only in the moments you suffer. It's stored in the ways they changed you, in values they passed on, in phrases you use without noticing, in how you show up for others because of what you learned from losing them. You don't honor them by freezing your own life at the point where theirs stopped. You honor them by letting the love you shared leak into the rest of your story. That doesn't mean you stop going back in your mind. It means you also allow yourself to move forward sometimes, carrying them with you differently. This Christmas, when memories crowd you, you might try something small. Instead of fighting them or drowning in them, you choose one. One memory that feels like them, not necessarily the grand, cinematic one. Maybe a silly, ordinary one. Them stirring a pot and humming. Them dozing in front of the TV. Them unwrapping something badly wrapped. Them rolling their eyes at a predictable joke. You sit with that one scene for a minute. You notice the details. You notice what your body feels like as you remember. You notice the ache, yes, but also the softness, the warmth, the trace of a smile. And you say in your mind quietly, "Thank you for this." Not thank you for the loss, not thank you for the pain. That would be dishonest. Thank you for this moment that actually happened. Thank you that in a world where nothing is guaranteed, I got this with you. Then, when you're ready, even if the ache hasn't gone, you gently return your attention to whoever is actually sitting in front of you now, or to whatever small task is in your hands. You're not choosing between them and the present. You're practicing the art of carrying both. Memories are not poor substitutes for having someone here. They are, however, a proof that they were here, that your connection was real, that you didn't imagine it. When memories are all that's left, it's easy to feel like you're clinging to shadows. But shadows only exist because something solid once stood in the light. You miss their hand on your shoulder, their face across the table, their voice in the next room. Nothing will ever make that absence feel right. Yet the fact that you have so much to remember is, in its own quiet way, a monument. You loved someone whose presence left marks, on rooms, on objects, on traditions, on you. Christmas will always stir those marks. It may always hurt. The grief may never fully heal in the way people imagine. But as long as you can still say, "I remember when," a part of them is still being carried forward. Not in stone, not in photos alone, but in a living human heart that refuses to let their story end in silence. Yours.